Hey everyone, I think I'm probably done with the tutorial part of the series for now, and I kind of just want to work on my own. So it's a really short tutorial in that sense. Just wanted to show you how to get a basic battle system set up. And ever since I finished that, I've been working on the overworld, at least getting the basic pieces in place. This is still very, very early. I'm just kind of getting all of my layers organized and everything, and my tile maps. So yeah, basically from this point on, I'm not going to be focusing so much on the tutorial aspect of things, but I'll still be trying to document the process as much as possible, as I am wont to do. So right now I'm just cleaning up the edges, making sure I didn't miss anything when I covered up the water. So the water is on a separate layer, and it just goes right over top of the ground. The detail I put on a separate layer so that we can have opacity. And all of this is on the overworld. So right now, in the very early stages of getting this set up. I'll probably add um, pathways next. I think that'll be a good um, aesthetic addition. And maybe some rivers. And then I'll just keep working my way toward getting to that first hostile area and also making a town. All right, so I'm going to shut off the microphone. I'm going to listen to some music. This will just be a quiet video. Feel free to follow along and ask questions. Trying to think if there's anything else. Since the last video, I modified my player script to have a toggle to be on a grid and also diagonal. Um, and I adapted my sprite sheet animation to uh, work in Godot 4. So I think the previous one I had was from Godot 3, if I remember right. All right, so I'm gonna get back to it. Thanks for watching. I'll probably pop in at the end and go over what happened, and yeah. So we'll go from there. All right. Okay, so what did we add? Well, of course we improved the island, the starting island by a great deal. It's a lot more detail, more layers. It's much more interesting. Um, we have the ground layer, we have terrains, we have water and detail. These are all separate, which makes for a more interesting landscape. It's also helpful for just planning, because you can separate everything. Actors are now on a separate layer. We have a day-night cycle, which is just existing code that I already have. It's based around the clock. Uh, what else? We collisions added those. For the water, you might be wondering why. If we look at the player script, like why do we not just do this and give the water collision? Like in the if we go to the tile set, I'll show you what I mean. So like we could paint all these collision layers, but my thinking is that there's so much water that it's probably inefficient to have all those collision objects when we don't really need collision in this game. Like with a grid-based game, you don't need to be calculating those collisions like that. Um, I'm pretty sure it's way inefficient when you have that. I could run some tests, but now for the mountains, I did use those because we're not going to have as many mountains. If it's a problem down the road, I can optimize it. But for now, any kind of detail element, I will just give a collision. So if we go here, and if I click on physics layer, you'll see that these show up. So right now, those are the only collidable things. But later on, probably these rocks will be solid. I mean, I could make them solid right now like that. Crates, barrels, pots, the base of the column, base of these jars, table. You get the idea, right? What is that? A candle? Oh, it's like a plant. The stools will not be solid. The statue bases will be. I think this one's actually meant for the wall, but we can give it collision anyway. Chest will need collision. I don't. These are from something else. And let's see. I mean, not that I have to give all this collision right now. And then we have these walls. So I think that's the way to do it. I'm going to manually add. I don't know. I'm going to come up with a way to do map locations and transitions. I think I'll probably just drag these manually onto there. If you look, I have transition area script. It looks a little complicated. It's a little. What are we doing? I think this was because I was having issues with it running twice. I'm not totally sure. Oh no, this is so that I don't have to have it as a scene. I can just place it into the game as a script and give it a collision shape. Let's see. And then we can modify this. Like this, some of this code is game specific, so I will need to modify, but the general idea is like I can have another node 2D for transition areas, and I do that for organization, and then we're going to drag that. Oh, no. We want to do transition area, and then we want to give it a collision shape. And it's going to be rectangular, and I think it worked best as having it kind of like offset. But so what you want to do is unify those so that we're not moving the collision shape. I think we can even lock that. And then when I select that transition area, we can see it here. And then we want to go to transform. And I think, how did I handle offset on these? I think I did it on here. And so this is just always in the middle. Yeah. Like the transition area node itself is in the top left, but we want that collision in the middle because that's what we're checking to see if we're colliding with it. And then I usually give these guys a different color. For transition area, maybe you want like a green. I remember the first tutorial I did as a viewer, like as I followed along, was for transition areas, and they used orange, so I kind of tend to like orange. So there's a little bit more setup I need to do, but that's kind of the general idea. If we look at the script again, target scene name, yeah. So I'm entering that manually. I have done it before where it's automated, and then we can set the spacing, the facing, and the spawn position when we go in. So that's really handy. We do it all here on these nodes, and so I think this. I thought this used to update the name. We make this a tool. I'll show you a cool thing. When we set that, we can do value target scene value and name equals value. So now it should update. I might have to reload Overworld. And yeah, so now you see that script is blue. And so when I update this, it's changing that. So that's nice. I'm fine with it being lowercase because it indicates that it's a path name. And it separates it from what we're actually on. This should not be Overworld, though. This is going to go to the first town, which I think I typically call it Sven's Grove. I think I started it with my daughter when she was into like Frozen or something. So we'll go with that. That'll be our first town. And so when we hit that, I could maybe even make a quick little mock-up town. So one of the difficulties I think in making a game like this that's tile map based is the inherited scenes don't really work that well in Godot. I've had issues where I lose all of my data. So I tend to like have a template and then I just modify it as needed. The problem is that for every room I add, I have to update it to fit with whatever format we're using here. Theoretically, I could just make like an extension of the script and use a modified layout, but I think this will probably be roughly what the layout will look like. Chances are we'll add more. We can consider these as folders to organize our data. So I'll probably have another one for objects that are just static, so things like chests or hidden items. Those I would put on a separate layer as well. And so I might even just make that now. We probably always want those to draw beneath the actors. Ultimately, what I might do is Y sort. But I think the objects, we're going to do the same thing where the objects are just an area 2D, and the actual like drawing is done by the tile map. I like that. I think that works. And yeah, so now we have this kind of template. We can just duplicate that collision area. I'm going to hold Alt and drag this one down here. And this will be like, you know, unnamed town. Okay, and so that won't go anywhere. Sven's Grove, if we look at our setup on the transition area, I had it like this, which I think is what I'll do in this project as well. So we make that. We want to put Overworld into rooms because it is a room. It's currently the starting room, which is fine. And then let's take a look. I think we're going to duplicate it and call this like template. Okay, and maybe we call it room template. And so now we're in the template. We want to first rename it and save Overworld. And now we just go and clear all the layers. And so you can do that through code with a tool script, but I'm just going to do rectangle. I'm going to hold right click and go through every tile map layer. The player can stay. It's interesting that the transition areas don't update because you have to like type it in there. Okay, so we have that, and great. So we'll save that. I think that's fine for now. We will need to modify our day-night cycle to load a global time. For now, I'm not super worried about it. All right, so we have the template, and what I'm going to do is duplicate that, and we're going to call this Sven's Grove, and maybe just so we can tell it's doing something. Grab all of these and just give us a nice little rectangle to hang on, and save that. Now, if we run the overworld and we go in that transition area, if the code works, close. Okay, so we don't have player data. So before I was saving the player data, I think from the transition area. Yeah, and that's where it crashed, right? Yeah, I'm like asking the void. So we need to have that, and I think that's an okay format for right now. So var player data, I think it was a dictionary. I think as long as we have that, it should be fine. Yeah, so right now we're not loading the actual position. If we look at Sven's Grove, if we want, and really, yeah, I think we do want to use small position. So if we look at it, probably want to use spawn cell. So if we look at our actor player, we need to put this back in. And I think we need to make sure that it has position. Can I do that? No. Oh, yeah, I already have that handled. By default, it'll go to that if we don't have spawn position. Great. And then the transition area, we actually have to set that. I think I want to change that to spawn cell. Maybe not. I'll worry about that later. Let's say we want to go like right next to that. It would be 13 times 1311. So we go here, it would be 13 times 8, 11 times 8. And so like I could take the player, just need to rename this. Take the player and move them over here. We should see them teleport to over there. Okay, close. So what I forgot to set is target position. Because this happens too early. So now we should be instantly there. Yep. Then I'm hitting that. It's taking us to 0, 0 on the overworld. We want to change that to be, if I look at this, it's 1411. Or we could even go down, 1512. So back to here, we have 15 times 8, 12 times 8. I think what I'll do is I'll allow it to have both a spawn position or a spawn cell, and it'll just use whichever one's filled in. So now if we go in here and exit, it should be below it. Perfect. And then I'll worry about the facing later. That's pretty much what we were looking for with the transition area. And then I'll do the same thing up here. We'll make a new area and we'll transition to that, and then we'll go through there. I think for now I'm just going to loosely base the game off of Dragon Quest IV. For some reason that just, I don't know, that's kind of what feels right. But I'm going to take a break there. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you're working on if you want, and how your games are going. And yeah, I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.